Hi, this is Mr. Moberg, and this screencast is answering the question, what is a physical change? Throughout it, you're definitely going to want to take notes, so find a place that's appropriate to do that. And as normal, if you have any questions about anything whatsoever, please ask your teacher or people around you. First thing I'd like you to do is have a discussion with someone nearby you answering this. Name 3 things we could do to this piece of paper to change it. So something I could do to make it different than it is right now. Pause your screen, see if you can come up with at least 3. Now that you've had a chance to discuss that, here are top 3 that I thought of. We could fold it, tear it, or burn it. The top 2 that I see here are physical changes, and those are what we're going to be taking a look at right now. So matter can change. We just identified that through some of the changes in the piece of paper. There are 2 main types of changes. There are chemical changes and there are physical changes. This screencast is about physical changes, and later we'll take a look at chemical changes. Before we get into that, we need to address a few things. So first of all, what is matter? If matter can change, what is matter? Well, matter makes up everything. It has mass, volume, and density, which we've looked at. And it can exist as a solid, a liquid, or a gas. Matter has properties. As we learned, properties can be used to describe something. They're observed using the senses or equipment, science equipment that we use in the lab. These are some examples you see on the screen. They describe the matter. And lastly, matter can change. When we change the matter, we change the properties. Right now we're looking at physical changes. Here's what a physical change is. It's when matter changes size, shape, form, or state, but it's still the same stuff in the end. In other words, we're not changing what it is. So no chemical reaction occurs. A couple examples you see here on the screen. Melting the chocolate bunny. It's a solid state at the beginning. It's a liquid at the end, but it's still chocolate. And the example you see here on the right of boiling water. It's water as a liquid to start off with, and we boil it, it turns to steam. That's actually still water. There is no chemical reaction occurring, and again, chemical reactions we'll look at later. Another general rule of thumb with physical changes is that it can be reversed. In other words, I could turn this liquid back into a solid by cooling it down, and I could turn this steam back into a liquid by cooling it down. Here are some more examples of physical changes. Crushing this can, it's still a can, I'm not changing what it is. Molding this clay, the same thing. Weathering is another great example of a physical change. This is the image I had on the intro slide. Water and wind can break down rock and land over time. We're not changing what that rock and land are, we're just moving it around. Chopping is another great example. When we chop the wood, it's still wood. This is another kind of tricky example of a physical change because it can be confusing for students. The word dissolving. In this image, we're putting salt into water and stirring it up. It looks like the salt actually disappears. However, it's still salt in the water and it's still water. There was no reaction that took place. And another sign that it's a physical change here is I can reverse it. You see here on the right, what happened here is we had salt water. We let the salt evaporate, and the salt stayed behind. So it's an example of ways that it could be separated. More examples, things to consider: melting ice. Is it still water when it melts? Yes. And can we reverse it? Yes, we could freeze it again. Chopping these onions. Is it still an onion when you chop it? Yes. Can it be reversed? It's a little tricky to reverse it. You couldn't really piece it back together, but you also need to use logic. It's still an onion. Making Kool-Aid. Similar to the salt example, we're dissolving sugar into water. So it's still sugar, it's still water, and you could undo it. You could evaporate the water. Crushing this watermelon. It's still a watermelon in the end. Can you reverse it? Again, it'd be tricky to put it back together, but it's still a watermelon. How about burning a piece of paper? This was one from that beginning example. Is it still the same type of matter? The answer is no, it's not. It's not still paper when you burn it, and you cannot reverse it. So this is a perfect example of a chemical change, which we'll look at in a little bit. Right now, I'd like you to pause your screen and discuss the answer to this question. Summarize what a physical change is and give some new examples that weren't listed, seeing if you can explain why. So pause your screen and do that now. All right, so let's recap physical changes. Number one, it changes something about the matter, but it does not change what the matter is. No chemical reaction takes place. And it usually, but not always, can be reversed. Thanks a lot for watching. I really hope this was helpful. As normal, please contact your teacher if you have any questions. We'd be really happy to help you out or ask people around you.